One.
There's no question that this is the beginning, the first election of the future, really. And I think we are moving towards a post-racial America.
Yeah, that lasted a day.
So
Donald Trump leaves office on Wednesday morning. He will leave Washington a pariah.
Donald Trump will never be allowed to set foot in the Capitol again. Never.
Ever.
in a blistering and hilarious moment.
Here's what we know, is that we don't really know anything, and that we're going to come out of this election and we're going to make all kind of pronouncements about what this country is and what this world is. And the truth is, we're not really going to know shit.
Jon Stewart kicked off his...
It's a matter of perspective, that the lessons that our pundits take away from these results, that they will pronounce with certainty, will be when Barack Obama won.
There's no question that this is the beginning, the first election of the future, really. And I think we are moving towards a post-racial America.
Yeah, that lasted a day.
So liberal comedian Jon Stewart just lit up the mainstream media. And let's be clear, it was brutal. After the Democrats took a beating in last November's election, legacy media outlets scrambled into damage control mode. Think pieces, panel shows, and endless hand-wringing over what the DNC should do differently heading into 2028. But Jon Stewart, he wasn't buying the spin. In a scathing and hilarious rant, he tore the whole charade apart, saying what so many Americans have been thinking for years. These people still haven't learned a thing. If you're into raw political takedowns mixed with razor-sharp wit, hit that subscribe button now, because what comes next is pure fire. Stewart opened his monologue with a hard truth. The liberal elite still doesn't understand why they lost in 2024. That cluelessness, it set the stage for one of Stewart's sharpest segments to date. He took a blowtorch to the media class, the smug pundits and high-paid analysts who somehow keep getting it wrong but never lose their jobs. Stewart roasted their addiction to echo chambers, their failure to connect with everyday Americans, and their delusion that they somehow represent the moral high ground in politics. The message was loud and clear. These people are living in a bubble, and it shows. And Stewart didn't stop with general critiques. He named names. He came for the familiar talking heads we see on cable news, who deliver one terrible prediction after another and still get invited back. He targeted folks like Alan Lichtman, the so-called election oracle, whose 13 keys method wrongly predicted a Biden win in 2024. Instead of owning the miss, Lichtman blamed misinformation, conveniently sidestepping the obvious. He got it wrong. Then there's David Brooks, who hyped up a red wave in 2022, only to watch it fizzle completely. And James Carville, he boldly announced the 2024 race would be over by 10 p.m. Now that aged well. Stewart's point is simple. This isn't just about bad calls. It's a symptom of a media system that's built on lazy assumptions and zero real-world awareness. That's exactly what Stewart was hammering home. He reminded everyone of the media's tendency to declare premature victories and push surface-level narratives. Remember how, after Obama's win, pundits rushed to declare America a post-racial society? The media claimed racism was basically dead and that black communities would now thrive. But fast forward, and what do we see? Police brutality is still rampant, racial inequality is as persistent as ever, and the deep structural issues plaguing black communities remain untouched. Stewart isn't afraid to call it out. Symbolism isn't progress. Electing a black president didn't magically fix racism. Real progress takes action, not just empty speeches and photo ops. Then there's the Latino vote. Back in 2012, Hispanic voters overwhelmingly supported Obama, and pundits rushed to declare that Republicans were finished unless they pivoted to pro-immigration messaging. Respect the Latino vote, they said. But once again, they missed the bigger picture. Over the years, support among Latino voters for Republicans has grown, especially among the working class. Why? Because those voters weren't choosing based on skin color or immigration alone. They cared about jobs, family, religious values, and community safety. But the media couldn't be bothered to understand that nuance. Instead, they recycled the same lazy narratives and got blindsided again. Stewart points out the obvious. They don't listen to real people, they just talk to each other. And that's why most political analysis today feels so stale. These pundits sit in studios or write columns from their ivory towers, offering hot takes that sound polished but lack real-world substance. Case in point, remember when they said Democrats had to nominate someone younger and more energetic to compete with Trump? Youth and charisma were the keys, they claimed. So who did the party put forward? Joe Biden, already pushing 80. Stewart doesn't even need to say it. These experts are completely detached from what voters actually want. They aren't analyzing, they're regurgitating. But here's the twist the media didn't see coming. America didn't reject an older candidate. In fact, they embraced one. Biden became the oldest president in U.S. history, and the media applauded it as a return to decency and normalcy. But that narrative didn't last long. Inflation skyrocketed. Gas and groceries shot up. Paychecks didn't stretch. Global crises escalated, and the U.S. looked increasingly directionless. World leaders took advantage of the chaos. At home, families struggled just to get by. The issue wasn't just Biden's age. It was the total breakdown in leadership. Americans weren't seeing stability. They were watching the system unravel in slow motion. And that's exactly the point Jon Stewart keeps hammering. The media keeps selling illusions, while the rest of us are left dealing with the consequences. Whether it's race, elections, or the economy, the same pundits who got it wrong last time are the ones leading the conversation again. Stewart's message, enough. It's time to stop pretending these people have answers and start listening to those who actually live with the outcomes. The media promised us stability, but what we got was stagnation. They tried to gloss over the obvious cracks in the system and kept insisting that Joe Biden was sharp, strong, and fully capable. But the illusion couldn't last forever. Eventually, the truth became undeniable. He wasn't mentally fit to lead. And once that reality broke through, Jon Stewart was there, ready with his signature brand of truth-laced mockery. Stewart didn't waste any time taking aim at the mainstream media again. This time, his target was their smug, overconfident prediction that Donald Trump was finished. Remember that? The headlines screamed, "Trump is done!" The pundits laughed off any suggestion he could mount a comeback. Their certainty was theatrical, almost religious. But Stewart cut through the smugness like a hot knife. He reminded us all how confidently wrong they were. Trump is back in the White House, and the same media elites who declared his political death are now scrambling to spin yet another new narrative. It's a sobering moment. Stewart didn't just roast them for being wrong. He exposed their addiction to premature declarations and their arrogant assumption that they can bend public opinion to their will. What makes it worse is their absolute refusal to accept that they might be out of touch. These so-called experts act like fortune tellers, pretending they've got some special insight into the political future, when really, they're just recycling each other's talking points. Stewart is calling out the rot. It's not just bad predictions, it's a system that rewards groupthink and punishes independent thought. And that's a dangerous combo. Arrogance paired with a total disconnect from the electorate is how we ended up here. Now pundits are once again rushing to forecast disaster for the Democratic Party. Many are saying the DNC may never fully recover from the 2024 loss. And truth be told, I've said something similar myself. The damage is real. But interestingly, Jon Stewart throws out a curveball. He suggests that because these pundits are so often wrong, the Democrats might actually bounce back. It's a fair point. History is full of political surprises. Just when everyone thinks one party is doomed, the tides shift. But here's the problem. Stewart's analysis, while sharp, overlooks the why behind the Democratic defeat. It wasn't just poor messaging or tired candidates. The party's shift toward increasingly radical, out-of-touch policies turned off everyday voters. Regular Americans are tired of being lectured, tired of identity politics being pushed in schools, tired of seeing cities fall apart under soft-on-crime policies, tired of being told they're bigots for believing in common sense. That's what drove voters away, not just Republican messaging, but Democrats' own tone-deaf decisions. If the party doesn't take a hard look at how far off track it's drifted, no media cleanup job or comedy segment is going to save them. And that's what makes Stewart's takedown so powerful. Beneath the humor, he's issuing a clear warning. The political and media elites are playing a dangerous game, talking only to each other, ignoring the people they claim to represent, and spinning failure into false narratives. From misreading the Hispanic vote to prematurely burying Trump's career, the legacy media has built an empire on assumptions. Stewart is tearing that empire down, brick by brick. But let's not lose the thread here. While Stewart might be cautiously optimistic about a Democratic rebound, even his sharpest punchlines can't cover up the party's real issue: its disconnect from reality. Until they ditch the virtue signaling and start listening to the concerns of regular working-class voters, they'll keep losing ground. The Democrats don't need better spin. They need better priorities. So if the party wants a real shot at redemption, it needs to stop taking cues from out-of-touch media pundits and start reconnecting with the people. That's the real takeaway from Stewart's roast. It's not just comedy, it's a dare to do better. Because if they don't learn the right lessons this time, history will repeat itself, and no amount of satire will be enough to stop it. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next round of truth bombs and media takedowns. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.